This has to be an important event for you not to be watching the Warriors game. I don't know what the score is, and if I did, I probably wouldn't be able to tell you. Go Dubs. We want to welcome all of you in the audience tonight, members and non-members, and hope that those of you who have not joined will consider doing so. We spend our time at this place in civil dialogue, something which is lacking in a lot of places. And we honor the fact that we've had 115 years history in doing so. No evening, no event is more important than tonight when you've come here to look over 7 candidates, all of whom are aspirants to the most important position in the city and county of San Francisco, and of course that's mayor. I hope that you will pay full attention to them. They have much to talk to you about, and I know it's going to be a very, very important program. I would further mention that we just moved into this facility in September. So you're sitting in a room which didn't even exist a little over a year ago. We are very pleased by the fact that we now have this fantastic facility on the Bay where we can invite visitors from all over the nation, the region, and the world. We are 26,000 members strong tonight. And if any of you join, we'll add a few digits to that number as well. So once again, I'm delighted you're all here. I welcome you. I hope you're going to enjoy the proceedings. And now I'm going to introduce each of the candidates. Please hold your applause until I've introduced each one of them, and then, by all means, give them a lusty welcome. So let's begin with Angela Alioto, attorney and former San Francisco supervisor for District 2. Angela. London Breed. And she was citywide. London Breed, President, San Francisco Board of Supervisors currently, and the supervisor from District 5, London. Welcome. Amy Farrow-Weiss, homelessness activist. Where are you? You're behind me. Hi, Amy. Richie Greenberg, a businessman and advisor. Welcome. Jane Kim, San Francisco supervisor for District 6. Welcome, Jane. Ellen Lee Zhao, public health worker. Thank you. Mark Leno, our former California State Senator, Senate District 11. Mark, welcome to you. Michelle Bravo is supposed to be with us tonight, but is not going to be able to join us. Our moderator, and we're delighted to have her here to do this, is Melissa Kane, who's the politics and legal reporter for CBS Bay Area KPIX5. As Marissa mentioned, we're going to ask that all the candidates be allowed to make their remarks without any interruption. Obviously, please have your cell phones turned off if you haven't already. We do appreciate that. And once again, I turn the stage now over to Melissa, and let's give everybody a welcome.
Welcome, everyone. As he said, I'm Melissa Kane, and yes, I regret not wearing pants. Sorry, I didn't realize the setup here, so hope my mom isn't watching. So 2 things to remember for tonight. First of all, we have great candidates here on stage, and running for mayor is not easy. It's really hard. This is actually discussion number 732 or something like that these guys have done. It's the last major one with this many candidates, but they've done a ton of these. It's incredibly hard work, and any one of them could be making money or binge watching Netflix or something else with their time. So let's show a little gratitude here and understand that no matter who wins this race, San Francisco is going to be just fine. Any one of these candidates will be great. We can't say the same about the governor's race, but San Francisco will be fine. You don't even know who I was talking about. I'm not telling you. But we will be fine. Any one of these candidates is going to be great. So as you've been admonished, be nice. Everyone here is taking time out of their busy schedules to do this. And also, again, as you're thinking of questions and writing them, other people are going to be reading them, so please make sure that they are family friendly. Alrighty, so let's talk about the format. Here's how it's going to work. We're going to do opening statements. Each candidate will have 1 minute. And by the way, opening statements and every question and everything we do tonight is random order that was done using a website called Randomizer or something. Anyway. It's not personal. It was done via computer. So they're going to give opening statements, and in addition, there is a write-in candidate who's here who's going to give a quick opening statement as well at the end of the statements from the folks here on the stage. But that is the extent of that person's involvement. Then we're going to move to round one, and in round one, I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to ask 4 questions, and we're going to sort of group the candidates together again, sort of randomly in groups of 2 or 3. I'm sorry, 3 or 4, and they will answer 4 questions in total. So sort of 2 per candidate. Then we're going to go to round 2, where each candidate will get 2 specific questions directed to them, where they'll have 1 minute to respond. Round 3 is a lightning round where we'll ask sort of yes or no questions while you guys make sure you're writing yours and sending them up, because round 4 is the audience question portion, where we'll be asking questions of 1 to 2 candidates at a time. They'll have 30 to 45 seconds to respond. And then we'll do closing statements at the end for 1 minute apiece. Now, we have 1 candidate, Michelle Bravo, who couldn't be here tonight, so things might move more quickly, and I know lots of folks are trying to get out to watch the game. So we will do this as best we can, and as you were told earlier, the AV folks are prepared to turn off the microphones. At this point, everyone here knows what a minute looks like, so don't feel bad for them if that happens. And for the folks here on the stage, if you're not familiar with the Commonwealth Club, this is one of the most amazing audiences. Every time I come here and do a program, I'm always surprised and just marvel at how smart everyone is. So understand that the folks here in the audience, and maybe the folks watching at home, have their ballots out or some sort of document out, and they're trying to figure out what's the difference between all of you. And so as you give your opening statements, I would like the theme to be, what are people writing next to your name on their cheat sheets that they're going to be using when they go back and make a decision about who they're actually going to vote 1, 2, and 3 for? Alrighty, so having said that, let us begin with the opening statements. Are there any questions? You guys good? We're good? Okay, alrighty, opening statements, Miss Amy Farrah Weiss.
Randomizer.com did a great job of choosing a top 3 because this is actually my vote 1, 2, 3 for equity slate, Weiss, Kim, and Leno with ranked choice voting. My name is Amy Farrah Weiss, and in 2011, I got my start in local politics, joining neighbors and community in pushing back with a righteous no against profit-driven displacement and corporate giveaways after the global financial collapse. But we live in a democracy, so it's not enough just to say no. I realized we are tasked with coming up with our strategic yes. And so I started a nonprofit called Neighbors Developing Divisadero, focused on inclusive, culturally enriching, and sustainable development. I ran for mayor in 2015. How many people knew that? I got 80,000 votes for second and third, carried that momentum into starting the St. Francis Homelessness Challenge. My platform is ahead of its time politically, but it is all pragmatic, strategic, and able to be put into play no matter who becomes mayor. I want to serve the city in this way. Thank you.
All right.
Good evening. It is a pleasure to be here today at the Commonwealth Club. I was really proud to work with your CEO, Gloria Duffy, and your board on making sure that we were able to bring this public gathering space onto our waterfront, and it is beautiful to see her today. I have had the honor and privilege of representing our county and city over the last decade, starting out on our Board of Education and now serving on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. Prior to that, I worked 6 years as a community organizer, working with public high school students throughout the city, and also served as a staff attorney at Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights just down the street. They're neighbors with the Commonwealth Club. And over this time, I've been proud to work on a number of initiatives. One, making San Francisco the only city in the nation to make community college free for all of our residents. I'm also proud to be the author of a fund that is bringing in $73 million into our public schools, and I'm currently also working on a child care initiative. I'm proud to have fought for the most affordable and middle-income housing here in San Francisco, and I look forward to the discourse tonight. Thank you all for being here.
Good evening, everyone. I am Mark Leno, and I want to thank the Commonwealth Club. Your reputation precedes you. in a good way. Thank you very much for this evening. I am not only a small business owner for the past 40 years here in San Francisco, but also have served on the Board of Supervisors for 4 years, 6 years in the State Assembly, and 8 years in the State Senate. And throughout my legislative career, I have stood up for those without a voice. Foster youth, prisoners in solitary confinement, tenants at risk of eviction, or anyone who has been suffering from discrimination in housing, employment, and public services. I am running for mayor because I believe it's time for a new direction at City Hall. We need some fundamental change because the status quo is not working. I'm talking about our crises of homelessness, housing affordability, the crime rate, the mess in our streets. Status quo is not serving us well. And so it's time for new leadership. It's time for a change. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is London Breed, and I'm president of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. I grew up in San Francisco. My grandmother raised me in public housing. I went to public schools. I got my undergraduate degree from UC Davis, and I got my graduate degree from USF. I came back into the community, spent my time changing and saving lives. I ran for the Board of Supervisors because I didn't feel the policy decisions that were being made were actually connecting to the people of the city. One of the first things I did was convince the mayor to give $2 million to the San Francisco Housing Authority to renovate 179 empty public housing units, and we placed 179 formerly homeless families in those units. I pushed for neighborhood preference legislation because of the gentrification and what's happened in the Western Addition to provide the people living in those communities priority for new affordable housing. We have to change what's happening in San Francisco by making sure that we connect the dots. How we spend money, how we push policy has to make a difference for the people who are part of San Francisco, and that's what I'm committed to doing as mayor.
Good evening. You are looking at the future mayor, Ellen Lee Zhao. I have been in San Francisco for the last 32 years. I am a city government employee. I am a union bargaining team with the mayor's office and the Board of Supervisors for the last many years. I am, just like you, many of you, sick and tired of seeing all these current atmospheres. In order for us to be changed, I was nominated by the San Francisco Coalition of Good Neighborhoods in San Francisco. We were the one fighting for justice. I stood up for you already. Now is the time for you to think about whether you want a new breath for you or you want to repeat the same old cycle of problems that we have today. I am here because I stood up already. I am a mom with 2 college kids, and I am working for the city and government. I wrote a lot of reports. I was doing investigation for government function for civic grand jury. You can Google my name. You will see a lot of report has been out. I have been demanding and crying out loud for government change. Now is the time.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to be back here. My name is Angela Alioto. I'm a third-generation San Franciscan, born and raised here, and went to all schools here, except for schooling. And during the summers, I went to Florence, Italy. I went to the Convent of the Sacred Heart, and then I went on to USF Law School when I already had 4 children. I have 4 children and 5 grandchildren. I was an elected official for 8 years and wrote many, many pieces of legislation that had to do with everything from mental health. I created the Mental Health Advisory Board. I did a lot of the HIV legislation that resulted in the cocktail at the time. Nobody wanted to put those medicines on the ADAP list that enabled people to be able to get them. We were in the middle of a very, very serious crisis when I was a supervisor, and we did some amazing stuff in the city and county of San Francisco that went national because we did it. I did the first smoke already?
So, well,
Italian, that doesn't work.
I knew it was going to be you. I knew you were going to be the one.
I love batting cleanup, and so here we go. My name is Richie Greenberg. I am a 17-year resident here in San Francisco, And if you're going to make notes next to any of us right now, go ahead and put an R. Put an R next to me. And it's not for Richie, it's for Republican. I am the Republican candidate for mayor. The GOP endorsed San Francisco. I'm also LGBT. The Log Cabin Republicans and the small business, it's not small business, small property owners of San Francisco. I am a startup advisor, a small business consultant, and my goal is to bring 3 core values to the mayor's office: accountability, respectable law and order, and uplift our quality of life. Everything that I will do is with those 3 core values. We need to install accountability at all the departments. I want to deal with homelessness and hold people accountable, hold the homeless accountable, the homeless outreach organizations. A to Z, we have everything that we need to do with accountability, law and order, and uplifting our quality of life. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to move into round. Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes.
And we have one more candidate, Mr. Antoine Rogers.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, my name is Antoine Rogers, as you just heard. I'm a write-in candidate, and I'm only doing this because I want to help the people of San Francisco. I've been around a long time, and I've seen a lot of stuff that haven't been right around here. And LGBT, they deserve to be in San Francisco. They've been here long as I have. I haven't never heard of them doing drive-by shootings or nothing like that. They belong in San Francisco. And another thing, I'm gonna make this quick, about the jobs in San Francisco. Construction workers are not giving the jobs to the residents of San Francisco. They need to focus on that, and that'll take a lot of crime up out of San Francisco because youngsters will be able to work. I was campaigning the other day, a youngster ran up to me and said, "Hey man, I got picked for the longshoreman." You should have seen the look in his eyes. He was happy. That's 1 minute.
Okay. All righty, thank you. Back up. All righty. So we're going to move into round one here. And just so you know, at home and here, we've implemented the amen rule. And that means that if a candidate hears another candidate say something with which they agree, they're free to say amen or right on or whatever. As long as it's not negative, yes, exactly. Go girl. No matter who it is, it doesn't matter. You should say go girl. They're allowed to give affirmative agreement because we're not going to be asking everyone the same questions. And so if they want to sort of weigh in on something someone else has said, where they're not allowed to say negative things or say they disagree because that requires explanation. But they're allowed to sort of give a thumbs up or an affirmative at the end of an answer. So if you see a candidate doing that, that's why. Alrighty, so in this round, we've got a question for Mark Leno, London Breed, Angela Alioto, and Amy Farrell Weiss. We're going to start with Mark Leno. The question, and they're all going to answer the same question. The question is this. We've done a couple of stories about open-air drug use in BART stations and in other places, particularly around the Civic Center area. There is some speculation that in recent years, as we've sort of downgraded the severity of criminal acts like nonviolent drug possession, that we've somehow encouraged or facilitated the growth of this open drug use. And just about anyone you ask will say it is worse than it has ever been. So the question is it related to maybe an unintended consequence of some of the reforms that we've enacted recently? And in any event, what would you do to help to sort of deal with this issue? Mr. Leno.
So I believe you're talking about intravenous drug use and any other kind of addictive behavior. It is an illness, and we need to continue to treat it as an illness. Now, those who are feeding the illness, those who are dealing the drugs, need to face some consequence, and that is where I have disagreement with how City Hall has been dealing with this issue. I have put forward a proposal for a mental health justice center. So rather than run folks who are dealing with addictive behavior or mental or behavioral health through our criminal justice system, 50% of those in our county jail are being treated for mental health and treated with psychotropic drugs, and then put back on the street with no treatment plan and no caseworker. The Mental Health Justice Center would be a place where those folks can be assessed, diagnosed, and treated. So we should be taking this off the street. It does look like it's totally out of control. And again, status quo is not working. There needs to be enforcement and there needs to be consequence.
Excellent. Okay. Lena Breed.
I actually am proposing safe injection sites, not just for the purpose of providing people who have addiction a place to shoot up. The fact is, people who are suffering from addiction is not going to go away because we don't want to see it. So to have a place where there's treatment on demand, where there's support services and medical assistance for the purposes of bringing it indoors and providing the resources necessary to get people the help they need is something I truly believe in. I lost a sister to a drug overdose in this city. There have been times where she picked up the phone and called me, and I went to the Tenderloin looking for her, and she was nowhere to be found. Just imagine if there is a place where people are treated like human beings, but more importantly, there's an opportunity for treatment on demand. Last year, when I first started down this road to introduce this concept, less than 30% of San Franciscans supported the idea. We see that it's been working in Vancouver, Canada, and other places to help reduce addiction. And this year, the Chamber of Commerce did a poll that showed that 67% of San Franciscans actually support the idea.
I'm a born and raised San Franciscan. I've never seen anything like what you see at the BART station that was just recently on KQED. I've never seen anything like walking down the street with my grandchildren and seeing people shoot up as we're trying to go to the Westerfield. These are people that are not well, and what they're doing is illegal. We need to pick them up. We can't just let them stay on the street, slumped over in other people's vomit, and walk right by them, as we saw on TV the other night. It's the most incredible thing to me that is happening in San Francisco as opposed to some third world country. We need to go pick up each and every one of them. We need to give them the help they need, but everybody needs to understand you're not going to be allowed to sit in the streets of San Francisco and shoot up anytime you feel like it while the rest of the city walks by and is in a state of shock that such a horrible thing is happening and they can't help them. We need to take them off the street and give them help and let them understand it's illegal.
Amen. Amen.
There.
I have a background in mental health and harm reduction and transitional housing. And so I understand that part of this issue is that people don't have safe, organized spaces to belong. And a lot of people get hooked on drugs while they're actually displaced and living on the street and feeling that sense of being marginalized. So one of the things that I want to add to this conversation, I'm a big proponent of the safe injection sites. I'm a big proponent of treating this like a mental health and a public health issue. But also, in states that have legalized medical marijuana, we see that there's a 25% reduction in opioid overdoses. I have also a background in working in the medical cannabis field, and I want us to think of it like this. If you wanted someone to get out of the coal industry, you'd give them a job in solar, right? If we want people to get out of using and selling heroin and meth, we transition them into the medical cannabis field because it actually is a step in the right direction.
Alrighty, so question 2 is, of course, for Jane and Ellen and Richie. Question 2, SB 1045 allows San Francisco to create a new public conservatorship program to address chronically homeless people. It would allow the city to temporarily take over legal power to compel these folks to do things like go into certain housing or get treatment. Are you in support of this bill or this concept, if you're not familiar with the details? And if not, why not? So to Jane.
I have been closely following SB 1045, and I do support us expanding and streamlining conservatorship. But before I support any bill, we have to nail down the details of how this is done. Conservatorship is a very heavy-handed and restrictive tool that is utilized for folks that cannot take care of themselves and are a harm to others or to themselves. I do see people struggling on the streets, often in front of my house, and I'm left with my hands tied behind my back, not understanding how we can provide services to those that truly need it. If we are going to expand conservatorship, which I agree with, we have to understand all of the details of how it's done, how it's administered, and making sure that each of those individuals do have a right to counsel before that proceeding moves forward.
Excellent, thank you. Ellen?
Before I begin, I realize my name is not on the board. I want people to know that I am the future mayor for you if you want some change.
What is your Twitter handle?
Ellen Lee Zhao.
Okay.
I am here for you. I stood up for you, and I want you to think about it. I am a public health worker. I have been working for city and county for more than 13 years, 15 years to be soon. I am a mom. I dealt with delinquent kids. I dealt with mentally ill day in, day out. I have seen how devastating that people are not able to function on their own. I support this measurement wholeheartedly for a purpose of humanity. We want to treat everybody with love, respect, and dignity. Nobody want to be homeless. Nobody want to be on the street. And nobody want to be a drug abuser. But yet we have board of supervisors doing drugs for people. You're supporting the drug dealers on the street. But I support this measurement for the purpose of humanity. Thank you.
Richie?
Yes, so in principle, I do support this. What I want to make sure, of course, with accountability is that we don't set up another commission, another department that's going to go ahead and just grab all the money and have an oversight committee above that. I also want to ensure that we have the best specialists, addiction specialists, mental health specialists working together, and that it is not in the hands of the lawyers, those that are trying to fight to find where they're going to be put in conservatorship, but whether or not the best interests of those individuals are going to be met. And it should be with the courts, not with the attorneys. Thank you.
Alrighty, so question 3 is for Jane and Ellen and Angela. The question is about car break-ins. It seems to be an issue that everyone's like, oh yeah. So it seems to be an issue that we're just not able to get our arms around. What needs to change here? Do we need to give more money to the DA's office to pursue these things? Is it more policing? What do you see as the solution to this epidemic? Starting with you, Jane.
So first, I should say that we do need to commend SFPD and DA because we've seen a 17% reduction in auto burglaries because we realize that this has become out of control. But a couple of things that I would say that we need to do. One, we need a dedicated unit of district attorneys that just prosecutes auto burglaries. Currently, if you're a DA, you get a docket ranging from auto burgs all the way up to homicides. In which case you're going to drop? You're going to drop the auto burglary, and for right reason. However, if we have a dedicated unit that only prosecutes these types of low nonviolent property crimes, I think that we're going to get a lot farther. The police believe, and I believe as well, that a small group of people are doing the vast majority of auto burgs, and we should be prosecuting those individuals because they're impacting the bottom line of so many households and families throughout San Francisco, low income to those that are doing well, and of course our tourism industry. Second, we need to centralize the investigative unit within SFPD on auto burglaries. It is a citywide issue. It is not limited to neighborhoods. We currently have neighborhood investigative units that I don't think are as efficient.
Ellen?
You are looking at the right person. I was a graduate for the police academy. Since 2006, for the last 13 years, I have been fighting crimes for you. Here's what I know. As a mayor, I will be setting a unit specifically to do audit all the books of our government units. Our dollar is not at work. That's number one. Number two, the reason it's not working is because there's no accountability for a lot of department heads. They are making more than $400,000 a year. You and I pay for it, you understand? For you to be at work, for your dollar to be at work, we need to evaluate the department heads who are in charge and work with them. Now is the time to set up new laws because Prop 47 passed a lot of felons released out on the street. The sanctuary city to protect all the felons from other countries. That is not acceptable. Please, wake up and stand up for yourself. Thank you.
Prop 47 has been an absolute disaster.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Nope.
I apologize. I'm sorry. It was this was a question for Angela.
I apologize.
You are in the next group. I apologize. Yes, I'm sorry. Ms. Eliotto.
I just want you all to know that Ellen is going to hire all of us when she wins. So be secure in that fact. Her 2 children are at Berkeley. Great. All right. I am the only candidate endorsed by the San Francisco police officers, and I'm very, very proud of that. The car burglary situation, as Jane just said, so amen to the 17%. Also amen to the concept of a dedicated department within the San Francisco Police Department. But we have to get full force staffing of our police officers. We've got 1,600 police officers presently. We'll have 300 less because of people retiring in June. And full force staffing is 2,200, which is what we asked for a whopping 20 years ago in a ballot measure, and yet we still haven't gotten it.
Amen.
So when we have more police officers on the street, more eyes on the street, and a dedicated unit, I think it'll take care of that particular situation.
Amen.
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 Amen. You go, girl.
I don't know about the
Yes.
go girl thing. I don't know, Richie.
Okay. Well,
You started that, Mark.
what's that?
You go girl.
Yeah, it's all random. Yeah. And Richie, this is a question for you and also London and Amy and Mark. So this is a question that just started out with me writing down OMG traffic. Okay, so traffic, help. Is the biggest problem the ride sharing? Is it the construction that seems to be everywhere, jamming everything up, or something else? What is the problem, and what do you propose as a solution?
So I believe it's a combination of all that. It's everything. You can turn your phone off there. So Uber and Lyft rideshare is problematic because people are using it because Muni is just not serving our needs. It's difficult. You know, I live on the west side. I'm the only candidate that lives on the west side of the city. And so I have to commute from the west all the way. My office is 2 blocks from here, more or less. And what are the choices? We can take Muni, but if I need to get somewhere else from around, I have to take a rideshare. And to have Uber and Lyft come to the city and just explode in their popularity, which, you know, it's good that you have a company that is succeeding, but to have tens of thousands of cars on the street that are just clogging up everything, that's problematic. And so what I would propose is to sit down with them and figure, can we put a cap on it, but not to kill their business? Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
I think one of the challenges we have is it's not just Uber and Lyft. We have delivery companies like Postmates and Caviar and all these things that have made our lives better, but made our ability to get around San Francisco worse. In addition to the challenges with Muni, you know, taxis have medallions and there's a limited number of them. And I think that there needs to be something very similar for many of these different platforms. And we need to make sure that we're able to take the data. Lyft is actually sharing data. And I want to work with our state officials to come up with the right system for the purposes of putting limitations on all of these platforms, number one. Number two, we need to improve Muni and make Muni a more reliable use of transportation here in San Francisco. I specifically pushed for the 5R, which is a 5 rapid that goes from the west side to the east side to the west side. I'm the one who basically sponsored the legislation to purchase all the new trains and all the new Muni buses, push to hire all the new drivers. Making public transportation better is going to be also helpful, and it's hard to do all this stuff in 1 minute or less.
You did fine. You did fine. Ms. Weiss.
Unfortunately, during the Lee administration, Mayor Lee, cheered on Uber and Lyft and really allowed things to happen in a way that the local regulations slipped out of our grasp and it went to the state level. And so, that's one of the reasons I ran for mayor in 2015, and I wanted to be able to get that grasp back. But we are limited in what we can do at the local level right now with regulations. But one thing we can do is enforcement. And so what we can do, we see that Uber and Lyft have the highest percentage of traffic violations and blocking bike lanes, et cetera, double parking. There's this opportunity to work together, and I'm all for a good warning system, but we have to do something where we're regulating this. I do agree that we need to invest in Muni and support that as well. And as mayor, I want to invest in the development of a locally regulated pro-driver, pro-passenger, pro-environment platform. That's what San Francisco wants to invest in with their technology.
Thank you.
Our traffic congestion and immobility is yet another example of how the status quo has failed us, that City Hall has not put forward programs that are going to get us around. In fact, we have a perfect storm now for failure. We've got all of this construction that's going on, which closes lanes and diverts traffic and slows us down. We have infrastructure improvements, which are a must as we replace 100-year-old pipes and lay new fiber optics and such. And then we also have 50,000 lifts and Ubers that were not even planned for a few years ago. And while we're on the subject of taxis, San Francisco has let our taxi industry wither and broke a promise with our taxi drivers who invested $250,000 into medallions that are now worthless. That is not fair. We need to be building more subways. We have exhausted our surface opportunities with all that's going on our streets. We need to plan now for subways that go out Geary, out to Mission Bay, and that also would connect with a new underground tube to the East Bay.
All right. All right, we're running a little bit behind here, so I'm going to make the executive decision to make round 2 1 question to each candidate instead of 2. That way we can get to your questions even more quickly. So be sure to write those up and hand those to the folks passing through the aisles. As a palate cleanser, before we get to round 2, let's do a quick lightning round. Okay, lightning round. Question. Rent control. Rent control is something that is being fought on the state level. It's a state-wide legal issue. But if the state law does change and the city is allowed to expand rent control if it chooses, would you be in favor of that, Mark Leno?
Yes, by bringing all stakeholders together so that we can get it right.
That's right. And London Breed.
Yes, I'm actually a renter, and sadly, in many of our units that are not rent control, we've seen people get increases anywhere between $500 and $1,200, which in essence, as far as I'm concerned, is an eviction notice. We have to do better.
Okay. Remember, this is a lightning round, so be quick. That's all right. You're fine. All right. It's fine. Well,
They're all lightning rounds.
it's you can
1 minute.
you can do a lot in a minute. All righty, Ms. Weiss.
I was, I think, the only candidate that actually collected signatures for the repeal of Costa-Hawkins, and I would expand it.
Jane Kim.
Yes, we should expand rent control. We should consider a rolling year. It's currently 1979, so that we can still incentivize new construction while protecting our tenants. Eviction is a national crisis, and we have to understand that housing is a specific type of good that deserves to be regulated. It is our safety, our well-being, our ability to work and raise a family.
Lightning round. Okay. Can she do it?
Yes.
All righty.
I'm very disciplined.
There you go.
If indeed it was the law, yes, of course we should expand. If indeed it was the law.
Ellen?
No, absolutely not. I am fighting for a lot of injustice at City Hall. The first thing we need to do is government accountability. There's a lot of collusion between attorney firms and government representatives. It's about supply and demand. It kills the market. It kills new housing policy. Kills the new housing. There's no more new house to be built when we have rent control.
All righty.
Thank
Richie.
you.
I know.
Amen to you. And the answer is no, I would not support it, but we would have to have all the stakeholders together and talk about it.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you. Going to church.
I want to make it clear that question presupposes that it already won, right?
Yeah, what I'm saying is, yeah, if state law permitted, you know, because the proposals are all to allow local governments to choose.
right.
All righty. Okay. How's that for a lightning round? Okay. So we're going to go to round 2, and in this round, I'm going to ask each candidate one specific question, and they will have a minute to respond. Okay. So, Mr. Greenberg, I was watching some other debates, and you have an interesting plan that I think the audience should hear about educating people so that they don't move here. Please. You have a minute.
I need
please.
more than a minute. Okay, ready?
Thank you.
Ready, go. So basically, it's not educating people. What we need to do, because we have this mass influx of approximately 30% of all those that are homeless here in San Francisco came from somewhere else. And so we need to have a regional discussion where we will help the other cities and states or wherever understand that they need to take care of their own homeless people and not to dump them on our city. So, for example, if you have a person who is homeless in rural part of the state and has heard that they can come here to San Francisco because this is where the money is. That's just adding to this incredible burden that our city has. Our resources are very strained right now, and we do not need to be taking care of other county and cities' obligations. They should take care of their own, and if we need to help them learn how to do it themselves, then we can help them.
There we go. Alrighty, Ms. Alioto, you have come out very forcefully in favor of changing our sanctuary laws.
Amen.
Amen,
And
amen.
you've talked a bit about how it's about terrorism, but at least my understanding of the current state is that there is allowed to be communication with regard to issues of terrorism. It just is limited when it comes to issues of immigration. But please, tell us about your position.
No, we're not talking about terrorism at all. That's a totally different issue.
Okay.
Okay, so let me explain this. I wrote the sanctuary law in 1991. I wrote it. I wrote it because so many people had been deported in one night and we were left with all of their children. The way it divided families absolutely broke my heart. So I wrote the sanctuary law of people that are leaving a country because of war or because they're trying to recruit their children into the M13 or any other kind of gang, whether there is oppression, when they come in under amnesty, we are going to give them sanctuary. I never, ever wrote the law to protect dangerous felons. So the ordinance that I filed at City Hall that will be on the November ballot is to take the amendment that was made by Campos and Avalos in 2016 that added protection for dangerous felons. That's murder, that's rape. That the sanctuary law would ever protect them was never our intent when I wrote it. Never.
Go, Angela. Go. Support that, yes.
Half.
I don't know about her support, you know. It's,
And I give that a half amen.
You're going to work for me, you said.
So, Ellen, you want to expand on what you said earlier about the sanctuary law?
Yes, I am a city and government employee. I work with many angry employees about the situation has not been done. The message is very wrong for the world that we shelter everybody, include FBI felons and sanctuary city is not for that.
Amen.
So our law has been abused. If you do not want your car break-in, if you do not want your property crimes, if you do not want to be targeted, get up. Now is the time. I am speaking from my heart. I have a community outreach program in the community. Besides working full-time for the government as a behavioral health clinician, I train people how to behave. San Franciscan, you need to behave for yourself. It's time to behave. Take your city back. Please, vote for the right leadership. You do not want to suffer anymore and for people abuse the law. I support Angela wholeheartedly for putting this. We are not shelter felons. No criminals allowed. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a reminder, no hissing, okay? People are just giving their opinions here. Alrighty, so next is for Mark Leno. Now, you have teamed up with Jane Kim, and you're doing ads together, sort of a joint slate. Talk about an issue on which you disagree with Jane.
One place where I disagree with Jane, and with regard to the teaming up, because the Chronicles even said that we're gaming a system, and I have to say...
Is that teaming?
I'm sorry?
Answer the question.
You guys, no, we don't need, we're good.
So
That's the
difference-
whole job, is to
Okay,
sit
let me
here
get
and
that
do
done.
that.
Let me get that done fast.
We're good.
The difference, I would have had a difference of opinion on the Twitter tax break, that we should have had community benefits with consequence and with enforcement so that San Francisco and San Franciscans would have gotten better a benefit from it that we have not. One of the things that I would have liked to have seen significantly is put forward a local hiring so that if these companies are going to get their tax break, that all the new jobs aren't coming from outside San Francisco, that we can do outreach, do appropriate training, do appropriate hiring so San Franciscans can get these jobs, and that won't put pressure on our housing or on our muni needs.
Okay, question for London Breed. You're backing a ballot measure to raise money for affordable housing. Is $10 billion in a budget not enough? And if not, Why is it not enough? It's a lot.
So I think that our budget is misleading in terms of the amount because it does include enterprise departments like the PUC, like the port, like the airport, which covers almost half of the $10 billion budget, where those monies have to be reinvested in those particular departments. Then when you think about and start picking the budget apart, we have a number of set-asides that voters have approved for seniors, for children, for all kinds of wonderful things. But then the mayor's office, when the mayor is putting forth the budget and the Board of Supervisors, there's just a smaller amount that's not specifically earmarked that we have to work with to allocate for priorities like new police academies, like the number of things around housing and homelessness and services that we need to provide. I think that the challenge that we have in San Francisco is just really accountability in terms of how some of those dollars that are going to specific things are earmarked, and we need to reallocate some of those dollars, but we need more money to build more housing. It could be for this particular ballot measure as well as public-private partnerships, and it's something I'm committed to doing as mayor.
Thank you. Okay, so next question is for Jane Kim. Jane Kim, same question. On what do you disagree with Mark Leno, aside from the Twitter tax break? Which you're welcome to address, because he just said that. It's fine.
Well, the first thing I should say is that the legislative branch actually cannot administer and enforce community benefit agreements. That is within the purview of the executive branch. And while I had tried to legislate something stronger, I was not permitted via the branches of the system. I do agree that we should have had a stronger community benefits agreement. That wasn't what was put in place by the city administrator's office. But at the time, this was a year when we were at the depth of our recession, and jobs was the #1 issue on the minds of our residents. And to attract employers to a corridor with the highest commercial vacancy rate in the city at the time, 30%, was something that we had decided was important. Now, we were very careful in crafting this ordinance. We ensured that only buildings with historical rates of commercial vacancy were included. So Twitter moved into a building that had been vacant for 50+ years. Square and Uber moved in next door to building that did not have commercial vacancy, and they're paying all of their taxes. So many years later, we do have to ensure that these tech companies are part of our infrastructure and supporting our growth here in the city.
Okay. All right, thank you. And Ms. Weiss, having not served in public office before, is that a liability or an asset, do you think?
Well, after I do have experience in local politics, and like I said, that started in 2011, and I started tasking myself with coming up with the solutions and ideas that are actually going to stabilize and heal our systems in crisis. As a matter of fact, in 2015, I put forward an idea for how the Mayor's Office of Housing could streamline the production of additional dwelling units, which only cost $200,000 to build, and we could do that by supporting the financing and construction if the property owners said they wanted to rent to one of our families or workforce at no more than 30% of their net income. And guess what? All of the candidates up here today support that. So when we're talking about pragmatic ideas that are ahead of their time, you're looking at the right person. One of the things that I've focused on also is the encampment crisis, and I hope we get a chance to talk about that a little bit more. But I've been working from the outside in to try to heal that system. And once again, I'm a team player, and I want to serve the city. And I felt like I had to get up here and do this work because I felt like it wasn't really being treated like a crisis.
All righty. So we'll quickly move to the lightning round. But in the meantime, by the way, we got something somebody in the audience wrote in all caps. Please don't announce the Warriors score at any time tonight. Don't worry, person. I have no idea what it is. All righty. So we're going to do a couple of questions in a lightning round. First question. So whoever wins tonight will be mayor for a little over a year. There will be another election in November of 2019 for a full 4-year term. So this election, of course, is just for the remainder of Ed Lee's term, and then there'll be another one. So there may be some logic to sabotaging the winner of this election in anticipation of the next one. Will each of you pledge that if you lose, you will be gracious and work with the winner where you can? And to answer that, Mark Leno.
I'm not only a gracious loser, I'm a gracious winner.
London Breed.
I love San Francisco, and whether I'm mayor or not, I will still be actively engaged and work with whoever's going to be mayor.
Ms. Weiss.
I will work together with whoever's mayor if it's not myself, and I'm putting forward an outcomes tracker and to-do list, so we need to make sure that that next person is accountable. This is a rare opportunity to do that, where they have a year to prove themselves. Show me, don't tell me.
Jane Kim.
I think all of us on the stage appreciate how difficult what we are doing is, and I have tremendous respect for everyone that is running. I'm committed to the city and will work with whoever wins.
Excellent. And Ms. Alioto?
I'm going to sabotage everybody.
Amen.
You've got to be kidding.
Ellen?
I love my city. I'll do whatever I can to help my city.
Maybe there's one secret you need to know. Our election has been so corrupted. We have a lot of people in here. They have been getting a lot of matching fund and misused it. I myself, with a volunteer team, I don't even have a campaign office. I don't even have an office for you to contact me. You can Google my name.
Lightning round, Ellen.
So,
Yes or no?
yes, they will work for me. I will appoint each one of them. Thank you.
Richie?
I will graciously support them, and I will remind them every day that I'm going to support them over and over. I will remind them until they can't stand it.
I'm sure they'll appreciate that. Okay. Excellent. Okay, so who is your favorite? Oh, yeah. Who's your favorite mayor of San Francisco? So, like, I know, Angela, I know your answer. Sunny
That's
Jim
real
Rolfe.
easy.
Who's your favorite mayor of San Francisco? Mark Leno.
Mark, you're in serious trouble.
I dare any of you to say anything but
I'm going to have to
Elliot.
reconsider supporting the next mayor if it's Mark.
I hate superlative questions. I hate superlative questions. So I'm not going to point anyone out. I can give you pluses and minuses of any one of them.
All righty. Non-committal answer from Mr. Leno. Okay, London Breed, who's your favorite? Oh, I think I know this one too.
So when I was in junior high, I played for the Ben Franklin Middle School Band, and the first time I got invited to City Hall was by Mayor Dianne Feinstein. She bought us sweaters, and it was the best experience of my life. So I would say Dianne Feinstein.
All right. Amy?
I think our best days are ahead of us, but I will say that I wish that Matt Gonzalez and John Avalos had become mayor, and we'd be in a different city that had a fair share economy.
Jane?
That is such an interesting pick. I think Matt would have been a very interesting mayor here in San Francisco. I also really appreciate the work that George Moscone did in his limited time as mayor of San Francisco.
Excellent. Not that I need to ask, but Angela?
The greatest mayor the city ever had, bar none, Joe Alioto.
Ellen?
I don't pay attention to politics until now. Then you are looking at me, the future mayor, the best mayor that you will have in centuries.
Certainly the most honest. Richie?
I'm going to go way back to late 50s to 1964, George Christopher, the last Republican mayor.
All right. You got to go way back. Okay, so now we're going to move to some audience questions here. You guys have some, as always, some great questions, but I'd like to start with this one, and this one's going to go to Richie and to Amy. It says, everyone asks the candidates, what would you do if elected mayor? But my question is, what will you do if you're not elected mayor?
You go first.
I know.
Oh, I thought you. Okay.
I
not.
said you go
okay,
first. So
I
you go.
apologize. I thought. Okay. If not, there's always the chance that I'll run again next year.
All right, so we'll start campaigning. Amy?
Do we have a minute?
Yes, you do.
Is that right?
Oh,
So,
Sorry, this isn't a lightning round. We're out of the lightning round. I hate to traumatize you all with that, but no, you have a minute now.
So I'm the founder and director of the St. Francis Homelessness Challenge. I started that organization 3 weeks after the 2015 election with the momentum that I got from there. And I am so committed to treating our encampment crisis as a true crisis. I don't know if you know this, but in the city of San Francisco right now, we spend $30 million a year. $30 million a year on DPW and SFPD for our failed strategy of shuffling our 3,000 to 3,500 homeless residents from block to block. We have the ability to invest that $30 million, and I've been saying it to everybody at City Hall, including some of my esteemed colleagues here on the stage. I've been trying to work with everybody to say, let's actually transition that 3,000 number out of the streets into safe, organized spaces. We could truly have a summer of love and logic, and we can build together on our way to not just building these individual shelters that I've been piloting, but we can also get people on that pathway to building our city.
Next question for Angela and for Jane. This question is interesting in its brevity. Why is the rent so damn high? Angela.
Why is the rent so damn high?
Why is the rent so? Someone here has written very clearly why is the rent so damn
Because the
high?
demand is so high. I mean, San Francisco, it's impossible to live in San Francisco anymore. The lack of affordable housing is stunning. And what we've been calling affordable housing in this campaign is $130,000. I want to provide housing for teachers, for firefighters, police officers, and emergency services. In an earthquake city, I want to do specific buildings, 350, 450 units where we can put our teachers and our nurses. I think we need to be able to get affordable house, truly affordable. By that I mean 20%, I was speaking to you in Italian. By that I mean 20% of their income so that they can live in San Francisco. The rents are really, really high because people can get the rents because there's so much demand. There was just a lottery over in Cow Hollow. There was 7,500 people applied for 100 apartments. It's very sad what's happening, and something has to be done immediately.
Yeah, to Jane, also same question, and of course, yeah, it implies sort of what would you
There was a time in this country when we, the government, used to build housing, and the budget for HUD was larger than the Department of Defense. And at that height, between 1940 and 1980, the federal government built close to 6,000 units of subsidized low-income and middle-income housing here in San Francisco. When President Reagan came into office and following Nixon and decided that the market should take care of housing the poor, the working class, and the middle class, and the wealthy, we started to see HUD's funding get slashed by 50%, and homelessness emerged as an urban crisis in cities across the nation. I work with developers. I mentioned that I have negotiated more affordable and middle-income housing over my time on the Board of Supervisors. We depend on the market to build for everybody, but frankly, I've seen the back of the envelope. Those numbers do not pencil out for developers. They are building for families of four that make $270,000 a year. We must subsidize housing. We must preserve rent control housing and strengthen tenant protections.
Amen.
Alrighty, so this question is for Ellen and London. As a pedestrian, do I have any sidewalk rights? It's hard to walk around the bikes and the scooters and the skateboards in this city. What would you do about that, London?
So I think that what's important is to change our infrastructure here in San Francisco, and there also needs to be enforcement. Because what we're having with, I like the scooters, I like the bikes, I like the different modes of transportation, but they don't belong on the sidewalk. And so we need to make sure that there is enforcement. We also need to make sure that we build more protected bike lanes, that we provide the infrastructure for people to get around. The fact is, as San Francisco is growing, people are using all modes of transportation. And my ultimate goal as mayor would be to keep people safe. And so that cars know where they belong, bicycles and scooters know where they belong, and people can feel safe when they're walking on the sidewalks or crossing the streets. And the other thing that's missing from this equation is enforcement, which is why I'm proposing that we add more police officers, not just police officers who are walking the beats, but when was the last time anyone has broke the law driving in their cars and gotten a ticket? It doesn't happen. It needs to happen more, and I'm committed to enforcement along with infrastructure.
And Ellen, just before we get to you, just real quick. This is as much as I know right now, but there was just a 3.8 earthquake in the Oakland area. If you have loved ones there and you want to look into that, please feel free to do that. If you want to receive emergency alert information, you should text alert SF. That's ALERTSF to 888-777. 777. Yeah. So alert SF AL. Yes.
Yeah.
AlertSF, ALERTSF. You want to text that to 888-777. Okay. That's as much as I know. We'll give you more updates if we learn anything else, but feel free to check that out. Okay, I apologize. Ellen, please, sidewalks.
You are absolutely asking the right question to the right person. I was appointed by David Campos as a pedestrian advisory committee. I served for 1 year at City Hall. Many of those problems created is because we have city officials allow this happen. If you do not allow that happen, we can take everything that is on the sidewalk and put it in eBay, sell it for the government. Don't you think so? Because if there's no punishment, there's no law. When we have the law but people don't enforce it, that is exactly what the government picture right now. We have a lot of laws, but there's no enforcement to it. As a mayor, we will hold people accountable who put this stuff on the sidewalk and tell them it's citing them. It's called litter. They put those in there, and it's a traffic jam, it's a traffic problem. It's not good for anyone. We, the people, need to live a cleaner street, safer street, and a healthier city. And now is the time. Look at me. Thank you.
Okay. All right, this question for Mark Leno. As mayor, what will you do to conduct an independent investigation of the cleanup on Treasure Island and guarantee a clean home for San Franciscans living in that state-specified area?
I know that the San Francisco Board of Supervisors today held a hearing in their Land Use Committee to hear from the Navy and from Tetra Tech, the now caught and dismissed authority that was contracted to by the Navy with regard to the cleanup of Hunters Point Shipyard. Well, dismissed in public opinion. Thank you for that alteration there. In any case, what we don't want to do is to repeat the mistakes that we made at the shipyard. There were neighbors 10, 15, 20 years ago who were complaining that the remediation was not being done accurately, that there have been cancer clusters and high rates of asthma, and the community's health has suffered. Families have died. This is serious business. We should learn our lesson from Hunters Point and make sure we don't repeat it at Treasure Island.
All right, excellent. Lots of great questions here, but before we do another round, let's do another quick lightning round. Alrighty, for this one, because we have ranked choice voting, some of you have already made it clear who you would like for people to vote for number 2, but we're going to go around and let everybody tell you who they would like for you to put as number 2, assuming you put them as number 1. Starting with Mark Leno. Just go with me here.
Worst kept secret in San Francisco. My number 2 choice is Supervisor Jane Kim.
And London Breed.
My number 2 choice was London Breed. And my number 3 choice.
Right on. And Amy Weiss.
Vote 1, 2, 3 for equity, Weiss, Kim, and Leno.
And Jane.
I have endorsed State Senator Mark Leno as my number 2.
Angela Alioto.
I'm not endorsing number 2.
And Ellen.
My second choice is Richard Greenberg and Angela.
All righty. And Mr. Greenberg.
Thank you for that. I have no number 2 and no number 3.
All righty, there you go. Now let's move on to the next series of audience questions. And this one is for London Breed. And also for Angela Alioto. It says, it's already expensive to do business here in San Francisco. Somehow we're seeing more and more mandates put upon business here in the city. What will you do to end the onerous cost of these overdone, excessive mandates? London.
So I think that what we need to do is reevaluate the number of fees that our small businesses are paying to the city and county of San Francisco, especially if we're talking about a small business that's under a certain threshold and maybe that's their only business. We see a lot of vacancies in a lot of our neighborhoods, and part of what we should do is make sure that we support and keep the existing businesses in business by reducing the number of fees, and I'm committed to working with small businesses to do that. We also need to make sure that the Department of Building Inspection is holding those vacant places accountable and making sure that they're registering. And so I'm planning to make sure that we increase the fees for those particular vacancies to hold property owners accountable to doing more to not only register their vacant storefronts, but more importantly, to try and fill those particular storefronts. We are experiencing a lot of challenge in our neighborhoods. Many businesses are going out of business because of other empty storefronts. And so I'm committed to working with the small business community to accomplish that goal.
Angela?
I've been going around from neighborhood to neighborhood, and I know I've known these neighborhoods my entire life, and it's absolutely depressing to see that the backbone of our city, which are small businesses, are totally disappearing. Between the vacant buildings and the vacant, if you take the 500 block of Columbus Avenue, it's like a ghetto. It is totally vacant and boarded up, and it's a shock to see it because it was such a thriving community. And a lot of it has to do with the taxes. A lot of it has to do with the landlords, and a lot of it has to do with tearing up the streets in front of all of these businesses, whether it's Taravel, Judah, Lawton, all over this city, Masonic. We need a new head of MTA because they are just absolutely ruining our streets and in the process ruining these poor small businesses. I went out to Taravel Street the other day where they painted the entire block in front of Emergency Pet Hospital red, and now they can't even get the sick animals in because of what MTA is doing with the middle of the street. We need to help our small businesses.
Amen.
All right, good. Well, Mr. Greenberg, this next question is for you and also Amy Farrell Weiss. The question is, what would you do about these tent encampments in the city?
So this is actually part of my three-point plan on how to deal with homeless, the most chronic that are living on the streets. Is if you go to my website, richiegreenberg.org, you'll see I have a very nice, slick video there where I explain I will declare a state of emergency and actually start working on it. What I will want to do within a few days after being sworn in, is there's a few areas around the city, for example, down near Candlestick Point. This is just for an example. I will bring in FEMA-style small trailers, like what you would see after a disaster, an earthquake or a hurricane, and set them all up, as many as can be logically put there, along with support services, clinics, addiction specialists, and all of those who are living on the street right now, tents, or those that are on Market Street or in a Tenderloin, and move them, coax them, carrot and stick, into those special care areas. And my time is up. There you go. That's what I would do.
Thank you.
It is vitally important that we treat our encampment and shelter shortage crisis as a true crisis. Amen, everyone? Are you ready for this? And so, like I said before, we spend $30 million on this Move Along strategy. I want to spend $30 million on a You Belong strategy, where we're actually investing in safe, organized spaces, making sure that people aren't living in encampments and impacting neighborhoods with public health and safety issues. We actually create enough space. If the next mayor of San Francisco has the political will, we have plenty of space with which to do this on city land, and also working with private developers with license agreement, insurance, and nonprofit administrators. I've been piloting through the St. Francis Homelessness Challenge one of these SOS transitional villages at the Impact Hub in the Mission. It's working. It has a community integration team. The key to remember is that there are unreasonable people in any demographic, from City Hall to encampments, but the vast majority of people on the street are reasonable, and we can work with them, and we can make sure that the next mayor creates reasonable agreements and responsibilities for people who need that support transitioning out of crisis.
Alrighty, so this last question is for the remaining three candidates. That's Ellen and Mark and Jane. The question is, what will the relationship between City Hall and the tech industry look like if you are the mayor? So, Ellen?
That's a very good question for a city government employee. I have been bargaining with different departments to let them know that our teachers, our workers, is not able to afford. The high-tech people, they make $250,000, millions, and they have bonuses. The city has been jacked up by high-tech people. Whether you believe it or not, a lot of people in here might not have problem with renters. But many of the people like me working paycheck to paycheck, it's a problem. So for me as a mayor, we have to reevaluate with high-tech that they should be supplying their own apartment for their own employees. And that's one way to start. The other way that we can start is work with the high-tech people. Can they donate buildings to affordable housing for our teachers, workers, and people with families? And that's another way to start. And also, a lot of high-tech people, they are pretty much having a lot of free money. To me, they have a lot of free money. We want to use their free money to party at City Hall. Thank you. That's a good incentive. The high-tech people party too, you know.
Mark?
So I believe the question is, what would the relationship be between my administration and the tech community? It would be productive, and it would be beneficial not only for tech, but for the citizens of San Francisco, with 3 ground rules: that everyone needs to pay their fair share, play by the same rules, and obey the laws. And with that, we could have a very productive relationship. The creation of tens of thousands of new jobs is a very exciting prospect. But as I mentioned earlier, they should not all just be presumed to be coming from out of town. And I get that there will be some very highly trained, specific technical skills needed for some of them, and there'll be worldwide searches. But what percentage of them are administrative or sales or any other aspect of the industry that could be served by underemployed San Franciscans? San Franciscans with college degrees who might be driving a taxi. We need to make sure that their success is our success.
San Francisco has the fastest growing income gap between the rich and the poor in the country, according to the Brookings Institute, and we have a shrinking middle class. The middle class in San Francisco used to make up almost half of our population as of 1990, and as of 2012, which is the last year I have the data point, the middle class has shrunk to 33%. I would want to work with all stakeholders, including tech, to have a seat at the table so that we can confront this very issue. And by the way, everyone should have a seat at the table, not a special seat, but a seat at the table to solve these issues. We need to ask upon tech, who has been the fastest growing engine of our local economy, to help us strategize on how we can address some of these pressing issues. And also their role in exacerbating the income gap. How are they treating their lowest paid workers? What benefits do they provide them? Can they stop contracting out and converting to W-2s so that our janitors, our cafeteria workers, our security guards have security to live in this Bay Area and to be able to raise their families here?
All righty. And now we are down to closing statements. But before they begin, remember, everyone gets a minute. You don't have to use a minute. Everyone here, except for Ellen, apparently has a website. You can go there and learn more about their 15-point plan for this or that. So with that, I'm sorry, you said you didn't have, is that right? You said you didn't
Ellen
have
for Mayor, that's my website.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said you didn't have a website. I apologize.
Ellen for Mayor, the only mayor that you can trust.
All righty. Turn that lemon into lemonade. Sorry about that. All right, so we're going to, at this point, do, again, everyone has 1 minute for closing statements, but we, like I said, you can take as much or as little of that as you want. All righty, so we'll start here with London Breed.
We have a housing crisis, a homeless crisis, and a public safety issue here in the city and county of San Francisco. It's time for bold new leadership, someone who's prepared to do this job, not in fear of losing it, but more focused on making sure we're connecting the dots between what we need to do for San Franciscans and how we make decisions at City Hall. I'm proposing reforms to our mental health system, not treating it like the criminal issue it is, but treating it like the mental health crisis that it is. I'm proposing that we build more housing, and we build more housing faster on underutilized sites all over the city, like we're planning to do at the McDonald's site that we purchased on Hayton Stanton in my district. I'm proposing that we add more police officers on our streets so that people feel safe in our communities, and that we make sure that there's a neighborhood prosecutor at every police district station. Doing this won't be easy. It's about accountability, allocating resources, and doing what's necessary to get the job done, and not the same thing. Please check out my website for more details on my platform, londonformayor.com. I'd be honored to have your support. Thank you.
Miss Angela Alioto.
I want to talk for a second for this last minute about homelessness. From 2004 to 2012, Gavin Newsom and I did a homeless plan called to abolish chronic homelessness. Chronic homelessness are people that are on the street from 4 to 6 years, generally speaking, triple diagnosed, and have absolutely no income from the government in any way. And now they're really ensconced in living on the street, the most difficult to get off the street. We took 4,600 people off the street and put them into the key 3 words to end homelessness: permanent supportive housing. It works. We did it. It was a huge success story. And then in 2012, the government stopped it. They took away the buildings that we had in the pipeline for formerly homeless. They put it over into affordable housing, not even affordable housing for those that were coming to the city with the tech boom. And they also took the money out of it. Permanent supportive housing wins. It is something that we can absolutely do again. It's the first thing I will do as mayor of San Francisco. And within a year, you will see a massive difference in the amount of homelessness on our streets.
Thank you. Jane?
Critical debate and discourse, or respectful debate and discourse, is under attack in this country, and I want to thank the Commonwealth Club for your role in ensuring that we continue to have that here in San Francisco. I want to be able to continue the work that I've built upon in the last decade. I want to rebuild the middle class here in San Francisco again. I want to continue the work that we've done to make City College free for all of our residents, to make childcare affordable for every single family, and to make sure we have the top quality public schools here in San Francisco. We also must address not just the housing crisis, but our affordability crisis as well. We need to preserve more rent control units. We need to build more affordable housing and set aside funding in order to do that. And I also want to be able to expand my work in my district. I currently have recently opened a 24-hour medical shelter in the south of Market, which we cut the ribbon on in December. It is a homeless shelter staffed by nurses, clinicians, and psychologists, and is a place where we can bring our sickest residents to. We must treat homelessness also as a public health crisis, and I look forward to earning your vote over the next 3 weeks. Thank you very much.
I want you to take a couple minutes to breathe. Think about what you need for the city. If they are so good, I will not be running for mayor. I was nominated by the San Francisco Coalition of Good Neighborhoods because we were sick and tired of seeing everything that you experience, like I experienced. I work for the city government. I am a bargaining team. I've seen so much corruption at City Hall. The first thing I want to do, I do want to set up an anti-corruption unit that is non-government operated. I want all of you on board in here, please. When you see the news, Ellen Lee Zhao elected as mayor, the first thing you do, champagne. And then come to City Hall and volunteer, be my watchdog, and hold each one of the city county employee accountable. As a mayor, I model for a good modeling. I will give back 50% of my mayor's salary so I can start a program to train youth leadership to respect the youth and protect the seniors and children and our future access for all of you. I stood up already. Now is your time. Vote for Ellen Lee Zhao for mayor. Thank you.
So I want to thank everybody who is here, ladies and gentlemen, in the audience here and listening. Again, my name is Richie Greenberg, richiegreenberg.org. Think about something here, that there are 2 branches of government that we're dealing with right now. You've got the executive branch, and you have the legislative branch. The executive branch is the mayor, and that's who you're going to be considering who to elect. None of us here have any experience working in the executive branch. The people here work in the legislative. And look what we see now. A continuous, just every problem that we have is either directly related to current or former Board of Supervisor people who are working on the Board of Supervisors right now or previously. And so when you are going to vote at the polls, consider that very wisely, very carefully. Because we have a left and lefter government right now we've had for many years. My job will be to bring back centrist policy. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. And just to be clear, London Breed was mayor for
Yes. Yes,
she has
yes,
some
yes.
experience in the executive office.
Technically, yes.
Just
Technically,
pointing
yes.
that. All right, Amy.
I want to lead, or at least co-lead, San Francisco in ushering in a summer of love and logic that would make Francis of Assisi and Harvey Milk proud of this city. I want to make sure that we transition our 3,000 to 3,500 people who are living in crisis conditions out of them into safe, organized spaces. I want to make sure that whoever becomes mayor avoids tech boom displacement 3.0. We could have avoided 2.0 if we had done things correctly, but we can avoid tech boom displacement 3.0 with this Central Soma plan and doing this work to make sure that we link our jobs to local hire when we're creating these office spaces. I want to make sure that we heal at the root. I don't want 200 additional police officers. I want to take the 100 sites that have the highest crime rates and we invest into that programming. It's $34 million for 200 new police officers. We can use that money more effectively. Vote 1, 2, 3 for equity. Like I said, I'm supporting Weiss, Kim, and Leno. There's no spoiler. So go ahead and support my ideas with this, and then I understand that it would take a miracle for me to become mayor, but I'm open to miracles, and I want to make them happen for San Francisco. Thank you.
Bring us home.
Thank you, Commonwealth Club and Melissa, for a really engaged evening. As most of you know, I've not been in city government now for 16 years, and I'm as confounded and confused and disappointed as you are as how San Francisco got to the spot we're in. The mess in our streets, the ongoing homeless crisis, the affordability crisis, our immobility in traffic, all of this is out of control. So I am running for mayor for major change in leadership. Please go to markleno.com. I have a very serious and detailed plan to end street homelessness by 2020. But I also want to stand up for our sanctuary law because it has been misrepresented tonight. Rapists, murderers, and child molesters are not protected by our plan and our scheme here in San Francisco. There are 800 felonies that are exempted from the protection of our sanctuary law. Please know that, and we want to protect our immigrant committees. It's for the good of the city. Thank you.
What's that? Thank you.
That's
See,
not
13
true.
minutes. That's not bad. All right, you guys can arm wrestle in the green room. Thank everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Go Warriors. Okay, guys, fight it out in the lobby. It's fine. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure.